Right? These are words of wisdom, advice from the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Here it's talking about the Mr. of charity and how God reacts to our charity. Now we have to remember that God reacts, number one, and that God is like a person. We're created in God's image, right? But of course, God is, when you call it, spiritual. He's not physical. And the fact is, God is also not spiritual. Spiritual, that's just aspects of God. And God in his essence is above spiritual, is above the whole creation, above all existence. But on the other hand, God does have a personality, and this personality is aroused. When we give charity, that arouses God's personality. What does it arouse? It says the effect of each particular commandment is let me translate it myself. Okay, when you do a commandment, so you arouse what's called a makif, a surrounding level of the commandment itself. There's a saying that says the reward of a commandment is the commandment. Schar mitzvah, mitzvah. The reward of a commandment is doing the commandment. What does it mean? When you do a commandment, you're actually activating a limb of God. It's like when a person, let's say you pick up a pencil. So your will activates your hand. So your hand is actually doing the thing, but really it's just an aspect of you. The same thing when you do a commandment, you become like the hand of God. But really, what is it doing? It's not just God's hand, it's activating God's will. And that's what's called the surrounding level. So the commandments are drawing down by this will of God, the surrounding aspect of God. For instance, the commandment of charity is a general commandment. It's not a specific commandment that deals only with your arm or with your mouth to speak words of Torah or to put on tefillin. In fact, it's a general commandment because you have money because you worked for it. You used your will, you used your time, you used your whole being to get the money. And when you give that money away, is that it's connecting your whole being to God because it's a commandment to give charity. So you're doing the commandment, you become a limb of God, but that really is like God's will revealed. It's even more than a limb. It's like the whole body, so to speak, the essence of God. And that's why the commandments also, to the degree that in the Jerusalem Talmud, says all of the commandments are called charity. Why? Because you're evoking God's will to be revealed in the world. For that reason, it's very, very proper that you should, before you do any commandment, you should give a coin to charity. That this coin of charity draws down this inner will of God, this general, over all-encompassing will of God. But nevertheless, all the commandments, this draws on an aspect of God which is above us, but close to us, which is not even, but when you learn Torah, when you learn the Torah, even the Torah goes inside of you, but the fact that God wants us to learn the Torah, this is more, how do you say, incomprehensible. It's less logical than doing the commandments. The commandments, we can see that don't make any sense, right? But when you learn Torah, it's a commandment to understand. So God really cares that you should understand. This is important to God. This is a general surrounding level of godliness. All of the commandments, as high as they are, they come from the Torah. So the Torah is really, really the essence of what God's will is. And that's, so therefore, before you learn Torah, you should also give charity. But in general, the learning of Torah, that makes an encompassing light, if you want to call it, will of God, arouses the essence of God, even in a deeper way than doing commandments does. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. If you have any questions about this, you can ask. And I don't know if I can answer. Here's a little bit of an explanation also. Okay. So therefore, you should give charity before you do any commandment. The commandments are called charity, but learning Torah is even higher than all of this. all put together, right? Torah doesn't mean it excludes it, but it does something in additional that's higher than all of the commandments, learning the Torah. That, by the way, in Israel is why it's so important. There's this big argument in Israel, should the boys sit and learn Torah all the time? Should they go and serve in the army? And so the answer is serving in the army is certainly very important, but learning Torah is also very important, even though it's not as glorious and it's not as dangerous also as serving in the army. But you can't discount it totally. And it says the Rebbe, in fact, learning Torah has a surrounding effect of good that nothing in the world can accomplish. But that does not preclude the doing of the commandments and fighting in the army and etc. So somebody has to do both. In the case of Torah and the commandments, every Jew has to do the Torah and every Jew has to do the commandments. But as far as the army goes, there's some Jews which are more suitable to be soldiers and others which are more suitable to learn the Torah, and each should devote himself to his individual his individual responsibility to his greatest. And that together, like King David and Yoav, his commander-in-chief, they were interdependent. King David's learning Torah, that gave Yoav the success, but King Yoav's success gave David the ability to sit and learn Torah. And we'll have the story, God willing, I'll give later. Have a good day with Mashiach. No, thank you very much for coming.